First, we welcome in the hardest working man in college basketball television. He is the great Sean Farnham of ESPN, who is joining us from Las Vegas, fresh off calling not one but two West Coast Conference semifinal games, setting up St. Mary's and Gonzaga again. He's calling a timeout there to be with us as we preview the Big 12 tournament. Sean, I know that you are worked to the bone. Your voice is tired, but gosh dang it, we respect you, man.
You know what? I'm glad you do, because the voice, like, look, I saw it ear, nose, and throat yesterday. They said my vocal cords are fine. It's just the compression of overuse is pushing them together, so my voice sounds a little off, but hopefully it doesn't annoy too many people.
No annoyance. Again, just respect for your ability to push
At least
through.
let's not annoy them more than my voice normally annoys people.
Oh, well said. Okay, I mentioned the West Coast Conference Tournament in Vegas. Do you miss us at the Orleans? Because we kind of miss you down there. A little. You, not so much the tournament, but we miss you.
Yes, but that's why I'm going to be flying from here to Kansas City.
Let's
and then
go.
have 2 games on Wednesday, 2 games on Thursday, and then do studio the rest of the way from there. I'll be on the opposite side of the bracket from where BYU is at. I'll have the night session, but it's going to be a great event. It's going to be a great tournament when we get to Kansas City. But yeah, different vibes since you guys left the WCC, right? Like as the kids would say, the aura isn't quite the same. You know, you guys, but it was fun because you knew the Zags were going to pack it, and then BYU was going to pack it. And so then you always had a really good arena, especially like on semifinal night.
Yeah.
It's kind of changed a little bit, but it's good. And tonight it'll be sold out. It'll be loud. And it's, you know, these two teams now have faced 29 times in the last 10 years.
Crazy.
Think about that. That's literally almost 3 times a year, every year. It's ridiculous.
And you've called like 26 of those 29.
Yeah.
Give or take, something like that, a crazy number. But to your point, you'll finish up in Vegas, and then you'll head to Kansas City, where you will have a front row seat to watch what is one of the more entertaining postseason conference tournaments in all of college basketball. We'll get to expectations for BYU in just a moment, but let's talk about the postseason awards. You called it early, and we wanted Richie Saunders to be a first-team guy. You said he is and will be a first-team guy. That came to fruition yesterday. Why did Richie Saunders deserve, most notably, that honor from the Big 12?
Did you watch him play? I mean, that's why. I mean, everybody saw how hard he plays. Everybody sees how he competes and his shot-making ability and how well he scores the basketball, the efficiency in which he's able to do it. You know, the interesting thing for Richie, he's going to have some decisions to make here, because I talked to multiple NBA scouts while I've been here in Las Vegas, and I asked them specifically about Richie Saunders. I said, what's your thoughts on Richie Saunders? It varies from team to team. Everybody loves how hard he plays. Everybody loves how he shoots the ball. But the question becomes is how impactful can he be at the next level? And some teams believe that he can impact winning and be a guy that comes off the bench and sparks the team. Others feel like he's maybe a little bit below that still. So the question will come for him is, who does he believe? Does his people around him believe? And I know certainly Kevin Young will have really good information for him, but he deserves all these accolades. He deserves to be in that conversation. He deserves to explore the NBA draft this year and then make a decision of what he wants to do.
Sean, he's been such a good shooter, to your point, led the Big 12 in three-point field goal percentage. He's one of the top 5 scorers in the league. He led BYU in steals this season. Like, he's a complete player. So along with the motor and the energy that he constantly plays with, which is his superpower, no doubt about it, what aspect of his game do you feel like would translate best to the league?
His physicality, his willingness to sacrifice his body, and his willingness to rough it up and mix it up a little bit. Like, he's a tough guy. Like, and he's not afraid to back down. Like, there's no fear in him. And I think if you're going to play in the NBA and you're going to be a guy that comes off the bench and play against some of the greatest players to ever play the game, well, you can't have fear. And you've got to have good self-confidence and good self-belief. And Richie Saunders has that in spades. So I do think that that's, to me, his best trait. Like, he doesn't mind attacking off the bounce. He doesn't mind, you know, throwing an elbow here or there underneath on a rebound. You know, he knows what it takes, and he's not afraid to do it. So that's his best trait to me, outside of obviously his shooting and some of the things that you mentioned.
ESPN's Sean Farnham is on BYU Sports Nation working hard in Las Vegas. He'll be in Kansas City later this week. BYU has the double bye. It's been a remarkable run to get BYU into a top 4 position, but here they sit after 8 straight wins. Most likely, if the bracket holds true and chalk prevails, BYU would have a rematch with Iowa State on Thursday morning. I know it's postseason play, anything can happen, but what are your expectations for the Cougars on Thursday morning and how they may advance in the bracket?
Well, I always look at it in these conference tournaments. I think early in games, we've often seen that the team that plays first gets off to a little bit better of a start while they find their rhythm. So I think for BYU, regardless of who they play, but in particular if they play Iowa State, they cannot get off to a slow start. You cannot be playing catch-up against a team that's as good as Iowa State is. So you've got to be able to find your rhythm in the T-Mobile Center. You need to be able to get that energy flowing and really come out firing on all cylinders, because they're going to have a game advance into you. And their guys have worked out all the kinks and they figured it out. So I think that's the most important thing. And then we go back to what I said the first game, turnovers. You know, I mean, if you want to play with fire again, go ahead, turn it over 29 times. Let's see how it turns out. I'm pretty sure it's not going to turn out the same way. Why? Because there's been no team in the last 25 years that won a game with that many turnovers. And I know they rebounded the ball really, really well in that game. But you've got to value the basketball. It's tournament time now, and it's March. You need to value your basketball and make sure you put yourself in the best situation you possibly can.
Sean, how much does what BYU will do in Kansas City affect their resume and their status in the NCAA tournament?
You're relaxed. Like, I mean, it's pretty much put to bed now. Like I said this, I mean, the win against Iowa State at Iowa State is more impactful than a neutral site win over Iowa State.
Amen.
Okay, so if you win against Iowa State again, sure, that might, maybe now we're talking about moving up another line. So there are opportunities here in this tournament because of the strength of the conference to move up and be better. But let's not get overwhelmed by the fact that in order to move up in the net, the Ken Palm, and all these other things, other teams have to lose around you too. It's not like you're just going to be jumping over teams because you got a really good win, and you jump over those teams when they take losses, and who do they lose to? So it's imperative that when you think about the seeding process for BYU, you're not just looking at the Big 12 tournament, because you're not seeded just against your conference. You're seeded against the field. So what's going on in other conferences? Are there other teams that are around the seed line that Joe Lunardi is predicting that are taking losses? They open up a door of opportunity to potentially move up a line. At the most, you're going to move up a line. I don't think you'll move down a line at all, because a loss to Iowa State doesn't hurt.
BYU does have potentially an opportunity to play against Houston if they get past Iowa State. And I know that's a huge if. I believe that the Cougars in red will do their part, and they'll be in the semifinals on Friday because, along with BYU, they're one of the hottest teams in the country. Sean, oh my gosh. I think they're going to win the national championship. They have shot makers this year, Sean. Houston has shot makers to go along with everything that Kelvin Sampson already brings in. But I am, maybe this is selfish of me, I just would like to see how BYU matches up a second time with Houston compared to when they got absolutely boat raced early in the season. If that happened, what kind of game do you believe we would see from BYU compared to what they were the first time they played at the Fertitta Center?
It'd be tighter. It would be tighter. It'd be a lot tighter. BYU's playing a lot better now than they were then. Houston, though, I mean, they don't run plays, they execute them. They don't compete at the defensive end of the floor. They disrupt. They don't rebound the ball. They attack the ball. It's the mindset of who they are. I mean, I was at their shoot around on Saturday at Baylor, and the team wasn't focused to the level in which Kelvin Sampson wanted. So he lined them up and they started running liners. 30 seconds on the clock. Let's go. On day of game. He doesn't care because like he says, he goes, we don't have bad practices. Because if you have a bad practice, you're building bad habits. So therefore, if my team's not doing right, we're just going to run. At least we're in good shape. And he did it on Saturday before they played Baylor. It's unbelievable. So I talked to LJ Cryer. I said, LJ, it's kind of crazy. You guys were running liners at a shoot around. He goes, that's not a shoot around, it's practice. I said, true. And then he goes, but by the way, he holds us all accountable. There's been times in practice where he didn't like the energy or the focus of the coaches, and he's lined the assistant coaches up and ran them. That's just who they are. So I think that we talk so much about Auburn. We talk so much about Duke. Houston's ready. As long as they can make it through this tournament healthy. Remember, it was a year ago Jamal Shead went down. If Jamal Shead doesn't go down last year, I think they could have won a title last
100%.
year. But this team made the transition from the American to the Big 12, and everybody said, well, now they're going to play against real basketball teams. Okay. They have 4 losses in 2 years in conference play.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane. It's insane. So this is a legit team. And look, if you guys played Houston, I would not favor you to win that game. But I do think it would be a much more competitive game. And I think it would be a positive thing for BYU to go through.
Yeah.
Because that defense is one of one. But that defense might be similar defense to what you could see if you happen to match up with St. John's, how physical they are. And so it would just prepare you one more time to have better ball control and to be stronger off the bounce, to make sure you're moving it with passing and not over dribbling, because when you dribble against a defense like that, they bring 2 to the ball, then they have interceptors and they get out and transition and run. So you really got to trust and move the ball quickly, which BYU's done a really good job during this 9-game win streak. And it'll be a lot of fun to watch if it gets there.
All right, Sean, we'll finish with this. You talked a little bit about if BYU beats an Iowa State and they have another quad 1 win on a neutral floor and they get to a matchup with Houston, that maybe that bumps the Cougars up a seed line. I don't know. I kind of feel like BYU is really close to the ceiling. It would take winning the Big 12 tournament, in my opinion, to jump BYU to a case where they would deserve like a 4 seed. Lenardi has them as a 5. Like, should we be content with a 5 seed?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Like, remember when there was a time when I came on the show and you guys were like, what do we have to do to make the tournament? Can we get to 10 wins? Can we get to 10 wins? Can we be 10-10?
Oh.
And then I was like, well, to make the tournament, you could do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And everybody laughed and said, like, oh, like, make it sound so easy. It wasn't easy, but it's exactly what this team did. And they've gone off and they have played great basketball. BYU fans have been on a ride. Enjoy the ride. Now, I understand that because of the success in which they've played with, you want to see them have the best opportunity to advance. It's March. I will tell you that the best team doesn't always win. I lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament my junior year at UCLA, and they'd say guards are the most important position in the NCAA tournament, right? We had a backcourt of Baron Davis and Earl Watson, and we lost to Detroit Mercy in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We had 7 NBA players on my roster. 7. And we lost in the first round.
Wild.
The NCAA tournament is unpredictable. So we can project out. We can wonder what it's going to look like. Breathe. This BYU team has been amazing and fun to watch all season long. Kevin Young has done a tremendous job. They've played well. They've represented the university well. Now they've positioned themselves so that they know they're in the field. And they know they're going to be wearing a home color uniform in the NCAA tournament. Let's see on Sunday when the name finally pops up. You can read all the bracketologists all you want. Check out Joe Lenardi every day. Drive yourself crazy if you want. But on Sunday, the actual bracket comes out, and that's when you will know your path in the NCAA tournament. And when it comes out, the matchup will be hard. Why? Because every team that makes the NCAA tournament has a belief, like if you're a low major team, you won your championship to get there. If you're a high major team, you've probably played a gauntlet of a schedule. So on any given night, anything can happen. But let's wait and see on Sunday. And again, BYU, grab your cougar tails, go to Swig, sit back tonight, relax, wait and see what's going to happen. Tomorrow when Iowa State plays, you sit there and go, okay, yeah, Iowa State, that's who we got again. And then on Thursday, make sure you're in Kansas City, packing the place,
yes,
saying hi to Jarom. I really do hope that the BYU crowd that we saw here at the WCC tournament, I get to see in Kansas City this week, because last year it was a little lighter than normal. I'm hoping this year that everybody's like on board and going, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Amen to that. Sean Farnham spitting facts on BYU Sports Nation. We're wishing you some relief to your voice, my friend. Many herbal teas.
I got to stop talking to you.
Sorry.
Like, why am I wasting my voice
Spencer,
talking to you?
stop asking questions.
I mean, for the love of, I've got 6 games to call between tonight and Thursday. What am I doing talking to you?
I don't know. Super selfish. Super selfish.
You're ridiculous.
Love you, Sean. Be well, man. We'll look forward to the call tonight and see you in Kansas City.
I'll be in Kansas City. You should be there too. I can't believe you're not. I'll miss you.
Next year, bro. Next year. All right. Sean Farnham.
That's what you said last year, by the way, just so you know.
Putting it out there for my producers. All right. Great stuff from Sean Farnham in Las Vegas on BYU Sports Nation. Never a disappointment.